If you do the wrong way with the wrong intentions, I say quiet hiring is not going to work. And when I reflect back, I felt like, you know what, that was a wage theft. Why do you need to come back, right? Micromanagers are like, I need to literally watch. You got to understand the environment and see if there's something you can do, self-reflect. So by 90 days, I figured it out, self-reflected, what's working, what's not working. And the reality was completely different. If you Google whitening resume, a lot of people are concerned about it. If you want extra from me, what's in for me? I'm going to go somewhere that I am celebrated. Hello, everyone. This is Sweta Regmi joining you live from Canada. I have Madhu Verma today, one of my clients who's gotten multiple job offers, and that includes a remote job. So I thought, you know what, hear it from the best out there. Why is he getting the remote job offer? And what did he do differently than the other people who are having challenges getting that remote job offers? He's backstage and he's truly excited to share his strategy that he's invested and he's worked with me. And I'm super, super proud of him. I've seen him evolve from consultant to the leadership role to the hiring manager. And I am super proud to introduce one of my clients from Toronto, Canada.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so you know what? I'd like to really thank you because a lot of people do not actually talk about this. They miss the whole point of investing in themselves. And I really, truly value that you've decided to share your knowledge and why the investment is the must. And you know what? Let people hear it. So why did you decide to invest in yourself a couple of years ago with me?
Yeah, I think there comes a situation in every person's professional journey that you get stuck for different reasons, and absolutely you remain clueless what's happening despite putting all the efforts, which we think or I think that I'm doing the right job, right? And then I don't see the results up reflecting back the same, correct? That's when you get into a question, what do I do differently, or where is that sort of mistake happening so I can recognize it and rectify it, right? Unfortunately, most of the times we might not be in a situation to recognize that on our own, and we might need, a second person's or the third person's opinion or view on what's happening to our situation. That really helps in clarifying our thoughts, re-strategizing, and helping in a better way of approaching towards the job market. I think a couple of years ago, it's almost like 3 years ago, during the pandemic, I still remember that's when I quit my job because of different reasons. Thought of looking for a career change. I was trying to play around with my resume, applying on LinkedIn and so on and so forth. But things really didn't work. I realized within a couple of months, something is really wrong what I'm doing in terms of my approach. And I felt, I need a person's sort of advice, or I wouldn't call it as an expert opinion, but still an advice into what I'm doing and what's really happening with the approach I'm taking, right? Unfortunately enough, I came across your sort of expertise on some online platform, approached you. I think that's when things have changed completely for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So let's go back to the days that we worked together. What have you learned so far? Are you still using those strategies that you invested in yourself? Is it still working out for you to climb the ladder?
Absolutely right. And up until now, over the past 3 years, I changed 3 different job roles with 3 different companies, and every time I look for the new job, obviously whatever I learned really makes a big impact. There's no doubt about it. Be it in terms of preparing your resume, in terms of positioning yourself on the social media, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth, and your approach to job strategy, I think perfectly makes sense.
That's amazing. So let's go back a little bit further. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You're an introvert. I remember when we started together, the first question I asked, you're an introvert, so are you going to have a hard time networking? What was the answer for that? Like, how did you start networking?
Well, it's no different from what I've been in the past. I'm still an introvert, but just that I make sure I have the right people around me to tend to network. So that keeps me in a comfortable position. That gives me that sort of confidence to interact with the people. And obviously, I don't need everyone to be around me. I need the right people who can get the job done for me, right? So I think it's the careful analysis of the situation, the people, that really makes us an outward person, at least for time being, if not completely radically changing our own self.
Perfect. And I remember you put the job search on hold and you went back home as well. And when I got an email saying that I've been interviewed virtually as well, I've been hunted for remote job offers. How did that happen? Tell people, what did you do? How did people reach out to you through what platform? And how did that even happen when people are struggling and you're working, international people actually reached out to you and got you job offers after went through the interview? Tell us more on that.
Yeah, I think fundamentally the difference that sort of I learned from the coaching, is how do we do branding and how do we position ourselves. I think those are the two fundamental elements which I missed in the past. But the moment probably using up the LinkedIn, the way you sort of structure your messaging, structure your line items, structure the content, all the taglines and hashtags, so on and so forth. I think everything plays a big role. To your point, obviously, even when I was traveling out of Canada, there was a situation where there were multiple job interviews that were happening in the background. I think it's all because of the fact that the way I projected my sort of profile on LinkedIn, and second of all, also I used to connect with all the recruiters prior to any even me applying for a job, and add them to my sort of LinkedIn profile, so they are aware what I'm looking for, and they also know my expertise and skill sets because I clearly highlighted on my profile. I think that was the biggest reasons why I was still able to get job offers and sort of interviews despite me being away from Canada.
That's amazing. So the branding perspective, you knew how to you stand out in recruiter search, and I'm so glad that you got what you wanted. Now, is that strategy working out for you every day? You've been still using the same personal branding strategy online and resume as well. If you were to look for anything else to move the career ladder.
I think these two are potentially, I would say, the biggest weapons. I use the term weapons, but I think it's important, and that sort of reflects the situation because everyone are hunting in the market, right? So it's no different from the analogy I use is you go to a walk, you go to a war, you need the right weapon, pick the right enemy and hit them. Correct. Uh, if you don't have a clarity on both the things, who we are targeting and what we have in our hands, we're going to miss the entire situation. Correct. Same is the case with job hunting. You need the right sort of weapon, which is a resume, nicely, cleanly tailored to the situation. And you should also know whom you're targeting. You can't just go randomly to everyone and say, you know what, I'm looking for a job. Here's my resume. Can you review it and get back to me, right? So it's not about even the current situation. I think, Sweta, recognizing the amount of credibility it adds to our profile, I think even in the future, absolutely that's going to be really helpful.
That's great. And I remember one time when you actually, when you said to me was, and I think there was a Google review and then LinkedIn profile review as well, you put it through. And the first thing I noticed you said was, my resume passed online system. Now I have a test, right? Tell us more on that. Like, what was your mindset before when it came to, putting those, applying online? There are like a lot of myths out there. And I know that you're one of those who applied online, you got the job offer, you got headhunted by recruiters, the jobs were posted, you did not do single networking and ask the strangers saying that, hey, do you have a referral for me, refer me, right? You didn't do any of those, but the online application still worked for you. How does that even happen, even for remote jobs? How did that go out?
I think one critical element I missed earlier, before I got coached from you, was there's something called as ATS or applicant tracking system, which most of the big companies, big shots, does use in terms of filtering the resume before even it reaches to the HR, right? Um, uh, Earlier, I used to like literally apply 40 to 50 companies every week. Not even a single one used to turn back. But the moment I realized and I recognized the fact that there's something, we need to tweak and shape out the resume in such a way that gets through this software and then passes to the hands of the HR. I think that's when sort of your coaching really helped me in terms of templatizing in a way that sort of passes the system. And I never had any hard times post that tailoring of my resume in favor of ATS. And no matter which of the company, no matter the size of the organization or the sector I applied for, I always used to get that sort of green signal. Hey, you know what, your resume is picked. Let's have an interview.
That is amazing. And I think I'd like to give credit on that because you know what? I can only coach people, I can teach people. But then at the other end, I'd like to give credit to my clients because they execute it so well, people like you. You are not shooting the shots. You're not running behind that stat. 80 to 90% jobs are hidden, which I don't believe in at all. You went through online posting. You picked the right role. You picked quality. And here you are today sharing and inspiring people that if you go after what you want, even if it's a remote role, leadership role, and here you are living the Canadian dream. How long you been in Canada for?
Just over 7 years.
So do
Yeah.
you think Canadian dream is possible by investing in yourself?
Obviously, I think the biggest differentiators, or the setbacks, I would say, is our thought process. Sweta, in the end, everyone has the same number of opportunities that sits in the market. Someone gets, someone doesn't get, right? So the only difference would be how are we looking through the recruiters lens? How are we preparing for it? How are we sort of overcoming the hurdles, right? I think the strategy we built and the planning we have and execution, everything perfectly makes sense. And oftentimes, we as an individual might get lost in any of these steps, and that's when a third person sort of advice or holistic view would help us in streamlining our thought process, come out of the challenges, and get to the system.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming in. And I know you're busy taking out your time and inspiring people that Canadian dream is possible if you try to understand the process. And if you're clear on what you want and if you invest in yourself, that gives hopes to so many immigrants out here, especially newcomers and people who are doing the survival jobs. And you didn't have to do it because you chose to invest in yourself. Anything else before you go you want to add on that I've
Yeah,
missed asking?
yeah, I think a couple of things. Firstly, I think for people around, right? I mean, whoever it is, oftentimes we get lost with the situation, we get demotivated, I think. But the biggest fact is, having that sort of discipline and dedicated approach is quite important in terms of gaining that sort of victory. And the other important thing is, are we really doing the right job? That's the biggest question everyone has to ask themselves. I never knew that. I was in the assumption that I was doing the right job. But the fact is, if you don't get the results, that is a reflection that we are not doing a right job, right? You're time testing, testing with one employer, 100 employers, still you're not getting the results back. That means something is fundamentally wrong. And I think oftentimes, majority of us, especially coming down to Canada, are not really understanding the job market here. We fall into that sort of trap that we're doing the right thing. Why are we not getting the interviews or sort of thing, right? My only suggestion and advice for everyone would be, get that sort of a second opinion on our approach. And I think that's very important because everything is time bound. The moment there's an opportunity lying in the market, which has a deadline maybe in a week, you're trying to play around with your existing sort of approach. It doesn't work. You tend to lose the opportunity, right? I think it's always better to be prepared before we begin the journey instead of we start the journey and try to sort of I know rectify certain challenges or issues, right? So having that right advice is fundamentally very important for us to be successful.
That is amazing to wrap it up with you. And I'm going to let you go. And that's the segue for me to move on to how the career clarity is really important for Job Search Foundation. And thank you so much for coming in today, Madhu. I wish you all the best and we'll keep in touch.
Likewise, thank you so much, Sweta.
I teach that strategy in my branding class, which is 7 C's of career clarity. This is where a lot of job seekers are literally looking for help because so many people are thinking, as Madhu said, was you don't even know what you want and no one can help you if you're not clear on what you want. And that's the thing that everyone struggles. If you're new to Canada, if you're new immigrant in Canada, if you're a fresher, let's say, even people who are tenure, senior, and they've done so many roles, they feel like they're an expert on everything, right? So if you're an immigrant in Canada and you're having a hard time bouncing back, you're working with the survival jobs, or even something that you wanted better to live the Canadian dream, honestly, start investing in your future right now. You're not going to regret this because this journey, as you could see, Madhu invested once in a lifetime. He's using the similar strategy. He didn't have to go after brand new referral and knock people on the door like as strangers and say, can you refer me? He didn't focus on that myth, which is the jobs are not posted. He got all the role in a right way. This is what I teach in my program. Thank you so much for watching.